Welcome to Second Take, the show that focuses on the issues behind the news. South Africa's gold and iron ore industries are making headlines with the unbundled Sibanye Gold's listing on the JSE and the Sishen ramp-up project to equal another Kolomela in another year. Mining Weekly editor Martin Creamer tells us more. Welcome, Martin.
Thanks, Shannon.
Now tell us about South Africa's newest gold miner, Sibanye Gold, which plans to help employees share in their profits.
Yes, so this whole idea of profit sharing is sweeping through the industry post-Marikana. People, instead of having this narrow black economic empowerment, they want a very broad-based black economic empowerment. And if you look in the listing statement, it's embedded there that they are introducing a profit scheme for the workers. And workers will share in the profits, and it'll be a two-pronged thing. There's the normal straight bonus, but there's also a performance section, which is linked directly to the company's shares. And the employees, the workers, can have up to 5% of the business, about 35 million shares. But to earn in, they they match their performance to their peer group. So, the performance has got to be good when you compare it with Anglo Gold, Ashanti, Harmony, Barrick, Africa, and a lot of the other gold miners. So it's going to be a pretty difficult thing for workers to achieve, I presume. Although already the cost structure at Sibanye Gold is below that of Harmony. But it'll be an incentive for them to actually make sure the productivity levels rise. So it's quite an interesting aspect of the business. We know that with Kumba Iron Ore, those workers, 6,000 of them, became half millionaires at the December 2011, and they're now in line in 4 years' time for another payout of that sort, and they've just been paid a dividend along the way. So I think workers are coming into the business in a far more meaningful way, and I think it's probably going to spread.
That's how we like to see BEE being shared.
Yes.
Now tell us also about their plans to bus people to see their families more frequently than once a year.
Yeah, you've got this vexing issue of migrant labour. And we know that, this should have been wiped out ages ago. It's a horrible legacy in South Africa. It's a millstone. But the country is so committed to it that you won't be able to get rid of it at the drop of a hat. So people are then saying, well, look, if we have got to do this, out of loyalty to some of our staff and the fact that it's so deeply embedded, we should be aspiring towards global best practice, because, migrant labour does take place elsewhere in the world. And we know the Australians fly in and fly out, and we know that, companies working, even South African companies in Argentina, they are flying their employees back, 2,500 kilometers at a time, every 10 to 15 days to Buenos Aires, etc. They're saying, look, we want to try and notch this up, because it's wrong that workers call a place home, but they're never there. They go there once a year or twice a year, which is seen as ridiculous. So let's try and bus people back. And hopefully this will be mixed with also looking to get families to come closer to the mine, which is the obvious way, through accommodation, proper accommodation. So there's also their housing programs going on, and the hostels are being converted into either single room or family units. We know that Kumba Iron Ore now has just converted all its hostels. They're all family units. And they've also set up a very nice, at Kolomela, very nice housing scheme, very integrated housing scheme. So, the manager is in the scheme as well, with a full spectrum of workers housed in an integrated fashion. People say it's pretty impressive. They want to take the media out there to have a look at it. So this whole millstone around the neck of the industry of migrant labour, people living two lives, one close to the mine, and then saying, well, our home is in the labour sending area, maybe Lusikisiki in Eastern Cape or something like that. They want to try and make it more meaningful so that people get home more frequently, or otherwise accommodate them far closer to the mines. And they found where the accommodation is far closer, you have less unrest. We know that Harmony Gold is just reopening Kususuletu now, but up in Carltonville here they've had quite a lot of problems because there's a lot of migrant labour element. Whereas in the Free State, they've had no problems with their workers. They live close to the mine, a lot of them with their families. So it does create the stability that you need. And hopefully, we'll get rid of it, because we know that if you read that Cry the Beloved Country, you saw that way back in 1948, there's only one real character in that book. It's fiction. But on page 148 and 149, they quote the only real character, the then Sir Ernest Oppenheimer. And he was saying, look, when we go to the Free State, we'll make sure that the families live close to the mines, and they'll have their children there, and that we're going to move away from what they called the compound system here, which had got a very bad name. But then the National Party got into power. They introduced apartheid, and they said, no, you will keep them in the hostels. Instead of it moving out, in 1994, we've got this legacy, and it was an underlying factor in at Marikana.
And I suppose if you bust them out, there's an opportunity for an entrepreneur to perhaps create a business there.
Yes, I think so. And maybe there could be some flying as well, depending on how they work it.
Now, also a black economic empowerment company has received a 17 billion rand bonanza from South Africa's rich iron ore endowment in the Northern Cape.
And of course, that's Anglo-American controlled Kumba Iron Ore. I mean, the social dividend, the collective social dividend that Kumba Iron Ore has given to South Africa must be the biggest social dividend in the history of the world. I mean, it's now at 17 billion rand going into the black economic empowerment element of that over 7 years. It's not even 7 years yet since they listed. So you get Exxaro, which is listed on the stock exchange, which is black controlled, receiving 20%. Well, the latest batch of dividends, they are receiving 2.8 billion, so that's a lot of money. But then you've got 3% of the holding held by a community trust, and the other 3% by the workers. And the 3% going into community trust, I think another 400 million has just gone into that. There was 500 million last year, and that's going towards education and health and building up the region and uplifting the people there. And then, as we said, 3% of the workers, that turned them into half millionaires in 2011. So a tremendous social dividend from this company. I think when the government was thinking up the legislation for mining, I don't think in their wildest dreams, they would have imagined that the MPRDA, or the Mineral and Petroleum Resources Development Act, and the Mining Charter would have delivered results like this. This is incredible. This is beyond expectations. And I can remember driving out to Pretoria in 2005, December, and I went into the old ISCOR building, because of course Kumba comes out of the state-owned entity, ISCOR. Anglo-American has now got Kumba, but at that stage Kumba was unbundled, and sitting in the distance there was Dr. Konfakonia with Sipho and Cozy, and they were the architects of what is now coming out as a 17 billion rand bonanza. It has really created a precedent that I don't think many will be able to meet.
Well, it's such good news.
It's been fantastic news.
Thank you so much, Martin.
It's a great pleasure, Shannon.
That's the show for today. Join us again next time for more news and insight into what's happening in the mining world.